He's blonde. Third-person POV. So you want to be born as Robb Stark and you also want to have the abilities and power of Leman Russ and still keep to the normal stature of Robb Stark, the Robb asked the soul after they went through the entire reincarnation mumbo-jumbo. If that's possible, yes. So is Leman your favorite or is it because of House Stark? Well, I really like Warhammer 40k, as long as I don't have to go there, naturally. And I hated the way the Stark family was just a plot device to set up villains. I imagine if Catelyn Tully didn't birth so many children the entire plot could never have happened. Now you're going a bit too far. No. Stannis and Renly Baratheon would have fought against the Lannisters either way and Daenerys Targaryen is also a player in the game. So there was more than enough game to play, even without the Starks. Well, I would say that there is only a very slim chance of that being true. Bran the Broken needed to be crippled and then had to visit the Three-Eyed Raven. Sansa had a FCKEDUP life until the end of the GOT storyline. That's one harsh way to get to know the truth of the world you live in. Jon Snow was hated by his good mother, then went to the Wall, then was killed only to be revived later, only to have to learn what happened to his family and then to fight against the living dead. I think Robb actually had the best life, the quickest death if you will. Arya traveled across the entirety of Westeros and then parts of Essos and we don't want to talk about the youngest Stark. FC King Ramsay Bolton. Aha, and what do you want to say? I don't know, just venting at this point. So you want to change the fate of House Stark? Indeed, I reckon I could cause some chaos, as ironic as that sounds. Kill some Boltons, all of them, the Freys, most of the Lannisters and do other cool stuff while I'm at it. Sigh, do you have any idea what would happen if a Primarch-level powerhouse starts to play the Game of Thrones? It would be a massacre, not even interesting. You think so? Saitama exists though. Well, if I'm going there, I want to have the best protection I can. I would take the lion, but I don't want to be associated with the Lannisters. Fair enough. So tell me why you don't want to be an OC Stark, the Robb asks. Quote. You know, I don't really know that myself. Huh, I guess that could also be useful, now that you mention it. When do you reckon I should be born then? I don't know. But if you are born after Benjen, you will also be quite young for the story of Game of Thrones or ASOIAF. However, age isn't really a problem for you with the anatomy of a Primarch. You are correct. Well, Benjen was born in 267 AC or a bit later. The tourney at Harrenhal will happen in 281 AC and Robert's Rebellion a year later up to 283 AC. Meaning if I wanted to fight in that war, I would have to be older than Benjen. What to do? Well then, if that's all, I wish you good luck. Oh, and I'll have to take away what you know about the world. It wouldn't be any fun that way, would it? Okay, bye, the Robb says and finally sends the soul on its way. No why. 268 AC. House Stark and all of Winterfell were nervous. Lady Lara Stark was giving birth again. She had already given birth 4 times and it wasn't a problem, but this time it seemed to be different. This time, the babe was not like his predecessors. It was bigger. As the hours passed, Lady Lara was panting hard and trying to get through the waves of pain she was feeling. The Maester was doing his best to help her, but he was also surprised at the size of the babe. Lord Rickard Stark was sitting at his wife's side and held her hand for some comfort. In front of the chamber, 4 children were waiting in angst as they heard the screams of their mother, trying to squeeze out the babe. Finally, after many hours, it was finished. The cries of a newborn weren't heard. It sounded more like the roar of a beast. But what surprised the Maester and the Stark parents was the look of their newest addition. The boy's hair, it was blonde. It was very unusual for one of their children to have blonde hair since all of them had black or brown hair, so this was new. But Rickard never thought about his wife being unfaithful, that much was impossible, they loved each other far too much. He simply saw his newest son as a wonder. And he was in for a roller coaster ride. Because his youngest child was a wolf through and through. The news spread and the youngest was introduced to his siblings. All of Winterfell was happy about the newborn and a feast was held in his honor. It seemed like nothing could ever happen to House Stark. The years passed and the Stark children grew. Some more than others. Brandon, who was the oldest, was also the strongest and tallest, followed by Ned and Lyanna. Leman, who was supposed to be the youngest, was not the smallest of them. That was Benejen, resulting in some teasing from Brandon, making the boy sad. But Leman never bothered with such trivial matters. There was an intensity to him that was unusual for a young boy like him. It unnerved his siblings in the beginning. Lyanna was the only one who interacted with Leman normally, and the bond between the two was unbreakable. Over time, the others also followed suit and learned that underneath the stoic and brutish appearance beat a caring heart for his family. There was a wildness inside Leman that surpassed that of Brandon and Lyanna, but he knew how to control it. When he reached 2 name days, he started leaving the castle of Winterfell and went to the Wolfswood. When it happened the first time, all of House Stark was worried sick and Rickard sent out multiple search parties. It took hours until they finally found him sleeping under a tree with a group of wolves. After that first time, it became clear that despite the blonde hair, Leman was a true Stark and his connection to wolves was taken as a sign. A true member of House Stark. Things continued to be weird. Added to the faster growth of Leman came increased strength and intelligence. The Maester noticed this during their lessons, in which Leman never seemed to listen but always knew the answers to all his questions. The rough exterior but high intelligence were things Rickard Stark noted and thought about how to use in the future. Because the time for fostering came near for the youngest Stark. Originally, Rickard Stark didn't want to send his 3 youngest to be fostered, but now that he knows about the remarkable abilities of Leman, he would be stupid not to use them. He wanted to strengthen the North in any way possible, and Leman would allow him to do just that. Brandon was already being fostered at Barrowden with Lord Dustin and Eddard in the Eyrie under Jon Arryn. The North didn't have many other choices, and a fosterage in the Riverlands might have been a good idea, had Rickard Stark not planned to wed Catelyn Tully, the eldest daughter of Lord Hoster Tully of Riverrun. For Eddard, Rickard wasn't certain yet, but he was sure that Leman would be best fostered in the North as well. Leman Stark POV. To think that that bastard robbed me of my memories of this world. Thankfully, he didn't take anything else. I know all about my past life and also about the wishes I made. I know that I have the body, at least I will have the body of Leman Russ in the future. I grow at an accelerated rate, but still not Primarch-level shit. That's good, as I would not like to be seen as more of an anomaly than I already am. I don't really care about what others think of me, but my options are limited, now that I do not know this world. I feel myself growing stronger every day. I learn as much as I can, even though the teaching style of the Maester is terribly boring. I don't like to waste my time reading and rather enjoy any physical activities. I do wonder if I'll ever grow to become as tall as Leman Russ was. 3 meters is very large. I would never be able to have kids this way, at least not the conventional way. But let's not think about it for now. I found out that this is a medieval type of world that has magic elements to it. I despise that. I don't know why, but it feels like my entire being despises magic in its entirety. I know that Leman Russ was famed in Imperial history for his hatred of psychic powers and sorcery. But I wasn't aware that it was to this extent. The mere thought of these red priestesses I read about, or the god they worship, makes my blood boil and I feel like ripping them apart. I have to deal with my emotions, which are getting raw, in a sense. It feels like there could be a chance I explode if I don't control myself. But that should only be temporary until I adapt to my body and reach maturity. But there is a barbaric nature to my thoughts and behavior that I can't turn off fully. I love nature and hate to be cooped up inside a small room or a castle for too long. Fighting comes very natural to me. I might as well be a juggernaut to these weaklings. And I am but 6 name days old. Imagine what would happen when I have fully grown. The world is not ready for me, the ROB was right. Oh well, nothing I can do about it now. I will make use of my abilities, and one of the cool ones I always wanted to try out is gaining memories by consuming DNA or RNA of other species. The omophage of the Remembrancer. Space Marines can gain part of a person's or creature's memory by eating its flesh. It is part of Astartes' gene seed. As a Primarch, I should also have that. I wasn't sure initially, but I tried it out and it actually works. I have to say that it is an extraordinary experience to do. But in a world as treacherous as this, it might be one of the most useful abilities I could have. I have been learning how to fight using a sword and a bow and arrow. Although only the basics, since I am still only 6 name days or whatever. I don't really need training anyway. Leman Russ was one of the best 1v1 fighters among the Primarchs. I will break many people in the future, I can already see it. I won't have a very good relationship with most people in this world, since it is built on lies and deception. Most lords and ladies are lying pieces of shit. I say pieces of shit, because I can literally smell lies, at least I hope that's what I'm smelling. I walk towards Father's solar as he has called me for something important. I knock on the door. Knock knock knock. Enter. I hear my father's voice and open the door. I'm here. What is it? I ask, getting to the point directly. My attitude, as father calls it, at first unnerved many people, but that's just because they aren't used to someone saying the truth to their faces like I do. Why waste time with flowery words, when I can get to the bottom of the discussion in a few words? Sit down, son. As you know, both Brandon and Ned are being fostered somewhere. Brandon in Barrowtown and Ned in the Eyrie. I wasn't planning on sending you away for fosterage, but I changed my mind. Your ideas and intelligence, as well as your rather blunt but honest nature, changed my mind, and I believe I found the perfect place for you to go, father says. Quote. Well, Bear Island. Say what? I had this idea and had to post it. I will continue the Visory's story, don't worry. 27 comments, 0 vote. Fosterage I. 274 AC. Bear Island. Leman POV. Finally, I reached Bear Island. The beautiful but remote island contains old gnarled oaks, tall pines, flowering thorn bushes, moss-covered gray stones, and steep hills with streams. It is a remote island in the north that is home to House Mormont. It lies within the Bay of Ice, north of Deepwood Motte and south of the frozen shore. Picture. To think that father sent me to be fostered here. I don't understand what he was thinking. Well, I do understand what he was thinking. He probably thought that my character would fit perfectly, and he wants to strengthen the connection he has with the other northern houses. I guess, there are worse houses to be fostered in. The Mormonts are supposed to be similar to me, now that I think about it. They are fiercely loyal to House Stark, and they don't care about the petty problems of the South and politics. They enjoy fighting and respect strength. I was welcomed by the heads of House Mormont. Welcome to Bear Island, young Stark. A tall man says, I'm Jeor Mormont, the head of House Mormont, and this is my son, Jorah Mormont. Here we have my sister Mage Mormont and her daughter, Daisy. Leman's the name. Well met. I say, and look around at all the people standing here. Jeor Mormont is a strong and tall man with a gruff demeanor that might intimidate many young men and women. But I'm not just a normal young man. I am not intimidated, at all. I can tell that he might appear hard and unfriendly, but that's what living on Bear Island is to a normal man. His sister Mage Mormont, on the other hand, is a short, stout black-haired woman. She seems just as if not more fierce than her brother. She seems to be a very willful woman. Good. I like that. Finally, we have the two young ones. Jorah Mormont is 19 name days old right now. He looks to be of rather average size, compared to his father and aunt. But he is probably going to grow into a strong man soon. However, that is all I have to say about this one. Nothing special at all. Daisy Mormont, on the other hand, well, she was 4 right now, but she has a strong gaze and will surely become a formidable warrior lady in the future. She looks at me with interest and wariness that seems to come from all of the people on Bear Island. Jeor Mormont looks at me with a weird gaze. He seems to be unsure whether he should be offended about the lack of formality I showed him or whether he should laugh. I am not one for formality. But that doesn't mean I can't show him respect, should he prove worthy of it. That's a strong gaze you have there, boy. I like that. Come, since my brother has fallen into silence, I shall show you around. Come, Daisy, let's show this wolf and his cubs around, Mage Mormont says with a booming voice. The wolves who I met 3 years ago when I entered the Wolfswood for the first time, have grown up and have had a litter of their own under my protection. 2 of their cubs have been following me around no matter what I do or say. Their mothers seem to be fine with it since I am a part of their pack anyway. I don't know how that happened, but it just seems to be logical for me. Might be those wolf genes affecting my mind or something. Ah, right, you do that, Mage. Leman, I expect you in the yard after my sister has shown you around, Jeor says to me, and I nod. And this is your room. It's nothing special and probably much smaller than what you had in Winterfell, but it is what it is, Mage says to me. As I enter the room, my wolf cubs notice the change in my aura as we enter my new turf and home. They howl immaturely and jump on the bed, getting familiar with everything. It is more than enough. I usually sleep in the Wolfswood anyway, so this is perfectly fine, I tell them. You sleep in the wolf's wood. Where and why do you do that? Is that where you met the wolves? Daisy seems interested in that story. She hasn't spoken much during the tour, but now she is interested. I met their parents 3 years ago, when I entered the Wolfswood for the first time. Since then, I have been part of their pack. These two are part of the litter of their parents, whom I met back then. What are their names? Daisy asks me, and Mage also seems interested. The white one is Frecky and the black one is Jerry, I tell them. I named these two wolves after the two from Warhammer 40k. Fitting, since they have bonded to me on a very deep level. This connection we share is not warging or something like that, but it doesn't matter. They will be affected by my growth and will probably gain many boons from it. What those are, I do not know. Those are powerful names you chose, young Leman. I can tell you will fit right in here. Now come, put your bag somewhere and follow us to the yard. It seems my brother wants to test your mettle. That's the way we do things on Bear Island. We are all bears, and if you want to fit in, you will have to share at least some of our values. I know that you will do perfectly though, Mage says. We exit my room and walk towards the yard, where Gior is already waiting for me with 2 wooden swords in hand. Jorah is standing at the side with his arms crossed. He seems to be wary of me. I can smell anxiousness, which could be connected to his father or mine. He probably wants to appear as a strong and powerful heir of House Mormont, but is anxious about making mistakes. He doesn't seem to fit into this house, from what I have seen in this short time. Daisy is already more of a bear than he is. Good, you're here. Here on Bear Island, we pride ourselves on our strength. Our house words are, here we stand. We don't run, we don't cower, we stand and we fight. No matter what it is, an enemy, the weather, or change, we stand and don't flee. To do that, we train ourselves from a young age. You have now seen 6 name days and are already much taller than what I'd expect from a boy of 10 name days. You move like a warrior, which is perfect. I am here to see your strength and your skill in any weapon of your choice. But to start, we shall see you use the sword, Gior says and throws me one of the wooden training swords. I catch it and wait for him to continue. But he doesn't say another word and simply observes my stance. I don't have any, as despite my stance not existing, I am not open in the slightest. I have a talent for fighting that eclipses anything this world has ever seen. I am like a freight truck compared to them. It will increase to become more ridiculous until I am going to be like a jumbo jet or something like that. But I still need to grow some more. I wonder how tall I will become. Gior attacks suddenly and I defend the attack. I don't block it but deflect since he has more strength than I do. That's right, but not that much. I am barely 7 years old and already this powerful. I can see my progress speeding up as I fight and train. I'll be a monster in the future. Clang, cling, clang. I block and deflect all his attacks and keep moving using my dexterity and nimbleness to stay out of reach or move into his guard to throw his rhythm off. It doesn't always take much to win a battle using swords, especially if they are as long as the ones many northerners use. This fight is equal to child play and it is only challenging since I am not tall enough and strong enough yet to contend with the bear. As our wooden blades clash against one another, I can feel the surprise and awe of the people watching. It is simply outrageous for a 6-year-old child to do this. Gradually, Gior Mormont is using more force, but only gradually since he can't believe what he is witnessing. As the fight gets harder, I feel something wake inside me. There is something primal that I feel awakening. It is like an old memory that comes up. My entire body is refusing to lose. My aura or presence changes suddenly, and if you could see it, you would see that it explodes out of me, spreading through the surroundings. Everyone freezes suddenly, even Gior. But I don't care about fair play. This is a fight, and while I would never kill him in a spar, since he hasn't done anything to deserve it, I still take advantage of this deer in headlights moment and attack. I swing my wooden sword at the old bear and strike him 4 times in quick succession, hitting his wrist that holds the sword, his knees and his shoulder. Bam, 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 the wooden sword drops to the ground and the pain wakes him up. But the surprise hasn't left his face, or anyone for that matter. I lower my sword and look at him. I wait for him to say something and after a moment he finally does. That was, ha 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 ha. He starts to say something but then starts laughing out of nowhere. His laughter is genuine and is joined by others also starting to laugh. Mage is also laughing loudly and many others are as well. Daisy and Jorah are not laughing though, as they are far too surprised about what just happened. The 4-name-day-old Daisy probably had her worldviews shattered right now. What an impressive display of skill, young Leman. To think that you were not only this strong but also skilled with a blade at your age. You will become a true monster this world has never seen, I am sure. Allow me to truly welcome you to Bear Island. We will have a blast, I'm sure, Jeor says after finally stopping to laugh. Thank you, I'm sure I'll like it as well. Jeor POV. Leman Stark, what a man that is. And what a man he will become. To think that my little demonstration and test turned into a show of dominance the like I have never seen is just unbelievable. I was putting more pressure on him during our spar and was about to end it when his aura suddenly changed. The world became a different and primal place in Leman's presence. It reminded me of my youth when I was sailing with my father and we got into the most dangerous and powerful storm I have ever experienced. I felt like we were sailing to our doom. The news of a boy of 6 name days besting me in a spar will spread far and wide in no time. Everyone will know that Lord Jeor Mormont was bested by Leman Stark. No one will believe it, however, as it is simply impossible. I will send a raven to Winterfell and explain what happened. I am sure not even Rickard Stark will believe what his son did. With a Stark like Leman, I am sure that the North will be in secure hands. I am going to make sure he is taught right about our values and the importance of unity and loyalty. He will become a beacon of House Stark, and with him by his side, Brandon Stark will surely rule without problems from the south. 23 comments 0 vote. Fosterage 2, 275 AC. Bear Island. Mage POV. Wah wah wah. I pant but smile when I hear the cries of my babe. It's a girl, my lady. Let me see her, I say and take my bear cub into my arms. She's so beautiful. What will her name be? Alysanne Mormont, I say. As I look at my cub, I can't help but remember the past year that went by so quickly. It has never been boring, and the reason for this is our newest addition, Leman Stark. The young wolf with blonde hair has started to bring great change to Bear Island, and I can't help but thank the old gods for bringing him here to be fostered. His mind is like the ocean, and new information is like a stone you throw into the ocean. It will never disappear and you can always throw in more. He is very intelligent, and his enthusiasm to create things that will benefit Bear Island has made him very liked. I particularly like his demeanor. He is like a true bear in that regard. Silent but strong and trustworthy. He doesn't speak much, but what he says seems important. He is much more mature than even most grown men in that regard. Jeor told me that Leman was working on something which would increase our fishing and also our boats. I don't know how he could possibly know that or where those ideas come from, but Jeor says there is promise in the boy's ideas. Over the year of his stay, Leman has gotten rather close to Daisy. This is something I approve of. Unlike other matches, he is probably the best one she will ever find in the North or otherwise. He is kind to my daughter, and ever since his first day where he defeated Jeor during the spar, she has aspired to become just as strong as he is. Poor child, I didn't have the heart to tell her that no one in this world could ever reach his strength at that age. But it is good that she wishes to become like Leman. That will push her to great heights. Daisy follows Leman almost everywhere, which was something I didn't like at first. Leman went into the woods without supervision, and while I know about his strength and his level-headedness, he is still only 7 name days old. I followed the two once and saw how he befriended a bear family. That's right, he managed to befriend a bear mother and her cubs. It is more than common knowledge that you never approach a bear mother and her cubs, for you will be attacked fiercely and most likely die. But that boy did it and even took my daughter with him. I was furious at first until I saw how the bear mother defended him from me. It was then that I let Daisy accompany Leman wherever he went, as long as they told me beforehand. Daisy would grow up faster and learn about living in the wild this way. And it worked. Almost every day she comes home excited and tells me about her adventures with Leman, the bears and his wolf pups. I have yet to see her come home unhappy about something. I am happy about that. Daisy also accompanies Leman in training. Jeor has taken it upon himself to let Leman train with my nephew Jorah. It is hard to believe that the child can keep up with Jorah, who is now 20. After observing them for a while, I saw that Jorah was anything but happy about the arrangement, and I could see some jealousy in his eyes. I hope this won't become a problem in the future. Because even if Jorah tries to compete with Leman, Leman would never do that as he has nothing to prove. He simply doesn't care about Jorah. I might have to talk to Jorah or ask Gior to talk to him at one point. Otherwise his plans might not go as he hopes. Gior POV. These are impressive plans you created here, Leman. I must admit, I don't understand anything of shipbuilding. I do know how to sail, but not how to build one. We would have to ask someone who knows for sure. I tell Leman, who has just arrived with a lot of papers and drawings about detailed ways how to build a better ship. He told us that we could increase our terribly small profits by building better ships for fishing and selling merchandise typical for the north. You don't have to worry about it. I am certain that it will work. No need to waste time. We should start as soon as possible. Now that the winter has just passed, it would be the best time to start, Leman tells me. I do trust you, as strange as this might sound. You are probably the smartest person I know, and that includes all those noble rubbish that sit around on their behinds and drink wine all day. But what would we be able to sell as merchandise, if we were to do that? I ask him. Well, in terms of goods to sell, the North is not the best kingdom of Westeros. Others are far better in this regard. But I believe that we would do well with the transport of goods. Especially with food, that goes bad very quickly. And how? Ice. What about it? I theorize that by cooling meat and fish by laying it in ice, it will take longer to start to rot and go bad, giving us more time to transport it and sell it for a high price. Quote. He is right. I have never heard of such a thing. But it could work, well, if his theory is correct, that is. But where would we get all that meat from? Well, we have enough ice here all year around, and if we need more, we can sail to across the bay of ice to the frozen shore and take what we need. Now we only have to test your theory and start building the fishing boats you have created. How would they look, by the way? Do you have a finished drawing of the ships? I ask, interested. I am surprised at how I treat this boy of 7 name days. He is as skilled with the blade as the strongest swordsman and as smart as the brightest men in Westeros. He is mature and always level-headed. Well, almost always. I have learned that he has quite a temper if something angers or annoys him. He is truly a wolf. Speaking of wolves, the 2 pups he brought with him have grown tremendously. I don't understand how seemingly regular wolves could grow so large in such a short time. I am certain that they aren't dire wolves, but their height says something else. They are barely alive for a year and already so big. I do have a drawing of how they would look. Here. Picture. 3 different ones. Why? For different purposes, depending on what we want to use them for. I see. Well, they do look impressive, if a bit small, I say. These aren't meant for transporting armies. I have other ideas if you want to create such vessels. Very well. If this does work out, we could even create a shipbuilding company of some kind. The North would sell us timber and we would then use that wood to build ships, further improving trade in the Navy of the North, I say, thinking about the repercussions of this endeavor. Well, if, bang, the door is pushed open and one of my men enters in a hurry. What is it, my lord? Wildlings coming from the north. About 100 men from what we could gather, he says. Aye, my lord, he says and rushes out of the room again. Come, Leman, time for your first battle, I tell my ward. Leman doesn't say anything and just nods his head. His expression doesn't change either and he keeps his cool. It is truly remarkable how collected Leman is and how strong his mind is. Everything about him is strong, there is no weakness ever. While he doesn't smile, ever, at least I have never seen him smile. I know that he still cares for others. He is not cold to his friends, and when I listen to what Mage told me about Daisy following him around all the time, he does care for Daisy. That's good. We Northerners don't show much emotion anyway, but he seems to be a special case yet. No matter, we will see how he fares in a fight where failure means death. I would never take a 7-name-day-old boy to a battlefield against wildlings, but he is anything but normal. He managed to defeat me on our first sparring and has only gotten stronger since then. What I saw then was a beast in human clothing that only waits for the right time to strike and rip out the throats of his enemies. Move them to the back. Cover our retreat and get a move on, I shout to my men who are hurrying to deal with the invading force of wildlings. The fight has just started and the wildlings are trying to raid us once again. I am keeping Leman close to me as I give commands to my men and try and keep the damage to a minimum. The lad is truly strong. I watch him swing a greatsword like it weighs nothing. The wildlings aren't as well equipped as we are, but they are just as motivated to raid and pillage our village as we are. He moves under a wide sword swing and tackles the tall man to the ground. I watch as the air leaves the man's lungs and he falls on his back. Leman, who is on his stomach, raises the greatsword with both hands and brings it down, nailing the man to the ground. I know that this won't kill the man quickly, and Leman seems to understand that as well. But he doesn't care about it. His focus is speed and to save as many of our islanders as possible, while killing all the wildlings. He doesn't even bother to pull out the long sword and just takes the wildling's axe. With wide eyes, I observe the spectacle. Leman is now flanked by his 2 wolves who are doing damage to the wildlings. Frecky jumps a wildling and bites him into the hand that holds his blade. Leman uses this chance and bends his knees low and then swings his axe in his hands with full force. Schlick, ag, the wildling screams in pain as Leman cuts off one of his legs. The wildling screams and falls to the ground, giving Jerry, the black wolf, time to bite his neck and kill him. I move my eyes to find Leman and see that he has already cut off another wildling's head with the axe and blocks another attack coming from his left. I can't believe my eyes as he pushes the man back, making him lose his balance, and then jumps into the air and buries the axe in the man's head, killing him before he can reach the ground. Leman doesn't lose any momentum and is on the run again. Frecky and Jerry are next to him again, and the beautifully deadly dance of death between the 3 continues. The small man runs for a small group of wildlings who are threatening to overwhelm some of my men. He and his wolves jump right into the fight and attack the wildling to the right. He hacks his axe into the man's shoulder, burying it deep into his chest and killing him for sure. But now he has no weapon left. However, that doesn't stop him at all. He moves around the man towards the next 3 people. They have seen what he did and attacked him together. Leman dodges to the left and jumps towards the first man's neck. He uses his full body to wrap his feet around his neck. In a remarkable show of dexterity, he moves his entire body and turns the man's head to his back, breaking it without a doubt. The man falls to the ground and Leman is already back on his feet. Jerry is attacking one of the men as Frecky and Leman deal with the second one. The wildling swings his sword towards Frecky, but the wolf manages to dodge the attack. This gives Leman more than enough time to move in and punch the man in his groin. Arg, FCK in ba. Crack, ... 27 comments 0 vote. Fosterage 3, 279 AC. Bear Island, Jorah POV. I am looking over the shipyard as the boats are being built by our own men from Bear Island. Thanks to Leman Stark, Bear Island has become a rather prosperous island, and House Mormont was able to fill both our coffers and our bellies. We are no longer spending as much money for food from the Reach and instead use our improved ships to catch and sell a lot of fish and whale meat. The designs of Leman worked like a charm, and we didn't even need to hire professional woodworkers or shipwrights for it. Leman Stark, the Golden Boy, the Blonde Wolf, the Genius, the Monster Hunter, the Defender of Bear Island, there are many such titles the young man has acquired. He is barely 11 name days old and already has more titles than I will in my lifetime. The capabilities, maturity and martial prowess of the young Stark are so impressive that father even decides to leave Bear Island and join the Night's Watch. The North will be protected against the South with Leman. It is time that someone takes care of the wall and what lies beyond it. That's what he said. Now that Leman is here, he can safely travel to the wall, take the black and become a member of the Night's Watch. What a compliment to make. My father never makes compliments, not even once did he say something like that about me, but here comes a small boy of 6 name days and defeats father on their first sparring match, designs ships, builds them and helps all around Bear Island to become the most favored man on the whole island. Meanwhile, I have to pick up where father left off. Taking care of everything, which means I am sitting behind a desk all day and dealing with Leman's shit. He doesn't even show me much respect either. He almost never speaks to me, and if he does, it is in a few words. He nods his head if he understands or doesn't say anything if he is either uninterested or doesn't agree with something. I wonder if I am truly a bear in his presence or if he is a bastard Mormont. I would never say that out loud though. Leman does pay Aunt respect, and even my cousins get more respect and care than I do. Daisy spends the most time with him. She wants to become like him when she grows up and hopes desperately to be as tall as him. To swing her mace as hard as he can, is what she told me. I miss the time I was the greatest in her eyes. Now it's just Leman this, Leman that, how annoying. I should be happy about the growing prosperity of Bear Island. The increase in paperwork is a positive thing since most of it means we are getting more money and can use this money to support our people. Attacks from the wildlings have not stopped completely, but Leman has allowed for a few to escape back and spread the word. Fear seems to be something he likes to work with or spread. I am not sure yet. What I am sure of is that it is getting harder and harder to be in his presence. It feels like he is truly a bloodthirsty wolf that could bite my throat at any moment. Or a sharp sword hanging directly above my head, held by a single horsehair, ready to fall at any moment. His presence or aura starts to feel like a storm or an ocean that might seem calm, but you know that in a heartbeat, the winds can pick up and giant waves can drown me. He unleashes the storm whenever he is in a fight. He is utterly merciless to the wildlings that come to our shores and kills them all, no matter their age or gender. It unnerved me at first, and I even talked to Father about it. He told me that the moment you pick up a sword you have to be prepared to die by the sword as well. War is ruthless and the defense of your home against invaders is war. Finally, there are Lemans, friends, or familiars, who follow him everywhere. His two wolves Frecky and Jerry, the eagle Aquila and the owl Ugla. Although at this point I am certain that they are dire wolves. No other wolf grows to such heights. They are both the same height, and from what I have seen they are truly dangerous. They fit his image perfectly. They have the same edge to them, that Leman also does. One wrong move and you die. Picture. The same thing about his eagle. I don't even know where he got it from, but one day it was there. Sitting on his shoulder is a tiny little bird, growing larger daily. His owl is another strange thing. I don't even know where it came from, same as the eagle. At this point, I am at least happy that he is on our side. But at any moment, it feels like he could turn his weapon against me. Ding ding ding. The warning bells. This can only mean, Ironborn, they're here. Leman POV. Get the boats we prepared in the water. All who can't fight retreat into their homes and prepare for the wounded. Ronan, you take your group and prepare the shore for our Ironborn. Those who manage to slip by shall be welcomed with the iron they so love. I give commands to the people around me as I have taken the position of leader naturally. It is in my blood to go and slaughter my enemies or the enemies of the north. In this case Bear Island. Jeor Mormont has taken the black and joined the Night's Watch 2 years after I started to be fostered here. Apparently, he thought I knew everything there was to know about being a northerner and a bear. I agree with him, but that was no reason to join the scum of Westeros, was it? He is a bit special. Now I have to deal with his son, Jorah. He has none of the northern or bear pride that his father and Mage have. I like Mage, she forced me to call her aunt for some reason. Since it makes her happy, I did so. Aunt, where is Daisy? I ask the she-bear as she approaches the ship I am going to lead into the battle. She is dressed in patched ringmail and holds her favored weapon, a spiked mace. She wanted to come, but I got her to look after Alysanne. She would have come either way if her sister wasn't here. That's your fault, Mage says. Probably. Now, you, Colrin and I will each take command over one of the 3 ships and sail towards them. We have the best chance if we attack them head on and have any stragglers taken out by Ronan at the beach, I say. You're right. How do you want to do it? Mage asks. We'll do it like this. I start explaining the plan. The plan was simple but not easy to pull off. We had scouted 2 large Ironborn ships approaching Bear Island and they were ready to pillage our beautiful island. Probably after hearing that it was going very well for us. And as the old feud still stood, the Ironborn were greedy and wanted a piece of everything for themselves. But it would be different this time. Jorah was to stay on shore to await a potential attack coming from stragglers or if something happened and Mage and Colrin failed. My ship was to sail towards one of the Ironborn ships to the south and Mage and Colrin took 1 ship each to engage against the ship to the north. Picture. I watch as the other ships take off. I am prepared to face the Ironborn on my own with the few men that I have. No one can withstand an attack of mine, even if I was alone, but this gives them a good feeling, so better do it this way. We move farther away from Bear Island and slowly approach the ships carrying the Ironborn. I can tell that this will be a different kind of fight, compared to the ones I had against the wildlings who came to shore. This will be my first real sea battle. Even if it won't take very long. I will massacre these cunts. The winds are favorable and we are making good progress. I can already hear the voices of the Ironborn on their vessel talking about how they will rape and kill all of us. I am glad they think this way. I will not feel bad for what I'm about to do to them. Who am I kidding? I never feel bad about this. Prepare the arrows, I shout with my booming voice which can be heard against the wind. A dozen bowmen prepare and their arrows are not set on fire. There isn't any rain today, but using fire arrows will only ruin the ship we will confiscate. I wouldn't want to burn my ship. Fire. Foosh *X12. The arrows are fired and I can hear the arrows coming from the Ironborn. They have much more men on their vessel, but that doesn't concern me. We have much better bows. Sadly 12 bowmen are really not enough to make any kind of difference. But it doesn't matter. Prepare for impact, I shout and wait for the perfect moment. Now, on my command, one of my men pulls the steering wheel around, causing the boat to change its course slightly, but just enough to achieve our desired effect. We have already pulled all our rudders in and using the slight change in direction as well as our boat's momentum to drive right into their rudders on their left side, slowing us down and taking away their mobility. Now they will be forced to fight us here and now and won't be able to reach land. Attack! I shout and jump onto the Ironborn vessel. I have my sword unsheathed. With one sword in my hand and an axe in my second one, I am ready to fight. I am tall for my age. I am tall for a grown man already, being 5 feet 10 or 1.75 meters. Not the tallest in this world, but I'm merely 11, so I will grow. I am attacked by an Ironborn who shouts and swings his sword around in an amateurish way. I block with my sword and swing my axe down on him. His head is split in two and causes a lot of blood to spill on me and the ground. I don't care about the blood and continue with my rampage. I duck underneath a swordswing and use my own to impale the man. Not even looking back, I move around cutting off the head of another man and moving forward. I slowly pick up my pace. Cling, clang, swing shing. My sword cuts and pierces anything that moves or stands in my way. My speed gets faster the more people I kill. I don't know what it is, but I am certain that my DNA, which is that of Leman Russ, is slowly awakening and with it my body's instincts. Whenever I am in a fight, I grow more and more ruthless and primal. Like I was made for this, like this is my true purpose. To kill anyone standing in my and my family's way. I was made to be an executioner. My axe cuts through the torso of a man and splits the man in half. My sword swings but is blocked by my adversary. I do a front kick and then swing my sword to block another attack coming my way. Ting! I move forward and cut the second man in two with my axe, giving me space to swing my blade horizontally and decapitate the first one. My momentum is unstoppable by now and I can feel Jerry and Frecky following me and killing more and more Ironborn scum. I rush forward, killing anyone and everyone until I finally reach the captain of this vessel. He is a disgusting man, but that is none of my concern. All that matters is that he will die right now. Do you think you can key? Shing! I see the surprise in his eyes as his head falls off his shoulders into the ground. For the first time since the battle started, I stopped moving and looked around. You can see a clear path of dead men indicating my path. This was a massacre, quite an overwhelming one at that. Lord Leman, the battle is won, but it looks like the second Ironborn vessel has managed to split off from Lady Mage and the other ships and moves towards the coast. Prepare our ship and have some men stay here. Kill anyone who is still alive and take all of their belongings. I'll sail back and help on the shores to finish this off. Yes. 31 comments 0 vote. Fosterage IV, 279 AC. Bay of Ice, Bear Island. Mage POV. I look at Leman as he walks up to his ship and smile. He has always been like this. Quiet, strong and capable. No matter what it is, he will be able to achieve it. He is a storm that leaves nothing but destruction behind. If you don't watch out, you will be caught in that same storm. I turn around and start to yell at my men to move it. Get your behinds moving. We have Ironborn to kill and to defend our home, so move it, I yell and move towards our ship. Ever since Leman created the vessel, we have had a big rise in food and also wealth. Our plan was simple. Given the power and physical strength of Leman at the age of 11 name days, which is unheard of, he will engage one of the Ironborn ships on his own, while Colrin and I attack the second one from the north. This will be necessary since the Ironborn ships are larger than ours and probably better equipped. But that doesn't matter now. We will win, that's for certain. I walk on my boat and make sure everything is in place. The ship is in pristine condition and ready to disembark for this battle. I look to the other side and see that Leman has already left with his vessel, leaving only Colrin and me to go. I look to my right and see Colrin nod from his ship. I nod as well and then give the order. Let's go. We finally set off. Jorah is stationed at the beach with Ronan and will defend against any Ironborn who slip past us. But that hopefully doesn't happen. Not on my watch. I'll kill those FCKERS. The sails are unfurled and the wind picks us off, pushing us forward towards the enemy. Colrin is slightly ahead, giving me a good angle and enough time to react to anything that might happen. We went over the plan shortly, but this is nothing new for us. The Ironborn have long demanded the iron price from us and we are long enemies. Lady Mage, the enemy has been sighted ahead. A few minutes until contact. Good. Tell the men. What about Leman? I asked since I wasn't watching and instead prepared for the fight. Leman is just about to engage with the enemy. He has opted for a direct attack and is trying to ram his ship into them, from what we can tell. That's what I expected from him. Good. Tell the men and prepare, this will be a hard fight. I tell him and he leaves. I am dressed in patched ringmail, and my favored weapon, a spiked mace, is in my hands. I feel the grip of my weapon and mentally prepare. For some reason, this fight with the Ironborn feels different, despite it not being the first time at all. The presence of Leman Stark changed things and I felt pressure. He will crush them, without a doubt. So this leaves the only thing that could go wrong, on our side. I feel my blood starting to pump faster and excitement filling me. *BOOOM. I hear a loud bang and look around. There was no damage and no wounded or killed men around me. What was that? I shout for someone to tell me what happened. Lady Mage, something just hit Colron and his ship. The rudders were damaged. I look to my right and see Colrin's ship. Indeed, there is damage to quite a few rudders for some reason. But what happened? On the left side of his ship, the rudders are broken, leaving him unable to use them anymore and therefore unable to move forward. He will continue to sail forward aimlessly and not be able to steer very well. The Ironborn have changed course slightly and forced us to respond as well. Change course. We have to intercept them and stop them from moving past us. I shout the order and everyone gets to work. We overtake Colron and his ship and see him fuming. They are sitting ducks right now, but what was it that took out the rudders? We change our course slightly and manage to intercept the Ironborn. Prepare the bows, I shout. The men prepare the bows. Normally we would use the oil, Leman prepared to destroy the boat, but it is far too useful to destroy it like this. We will take the ship from them and kill all of them this way. My men and women pull the strings of the bow and aim high. Fire. *WOOOSHHH. The arrows fly high and are about to reach the Ironborn when I hear a similar sound of arrows coming from the other boat. They are also shooting at us. Shields, I shout and the men hold big shields and stand in front of the archers. Thud thud thud. The arrows hit the shields and the archers continue to fire their arrows. It was a tactic Leman thought of. To create larger shields that one man wields and have the archers hide behind them. This offers protection and also a chance to keep firing at the enemy without stopping. Naturally, this also halves the number of men who can fire arrows, but it has proven to be better. Prepare for impact. I shout and grip my spiked mace tighter. I hold something to keep me from falling and then it happens. The impact. *BROOOM. Our ship hits theirs, but it doesn't work as intended and we only hit the side a bit and are now parallel to them. That's not what I wanted. Now, this gives them a chance to move away, exactly not what we wanted. Our hulls are more powerful than normal and reinforced to allow direct ramming, but now we hit them with our side. A bad start to this fight. RAAAAHHHH. EEHHHHHH. I hear the war cry of both men from my side and theirs. Then they arrive, the Ironborn. Some jump across the railings and attack our men, while others use ropes to swing on our boat and move behind the line of defense. This is not going well. I jump into motion. A screaming Ironborn runs towards me with his tongue out. He shouts some profanity and swings his sword in a horizontal arc at me. I swing my mace and bend my knees to move under his swing. His sword passes above me, giving me the space I need. With all my strength, I swung my spiked mace and hit his crotch. AAAAAHHHHHHH. The pussy screams and drops his sword. He holds his dick and screams like a girl. Whoosh, bang, I intercept another Ironborn who wants to use this chance to strike. I don't kill the first man. Having him scream like that will add to the fear the Ironborn will feel. The man is bleeding to death anyway, no need to make it easier for him. I reach out to grab hold of the Ironborn's arm which has just attacked me and pull him closer. I swing my head forward and headbutt him. Bang, he is disoriented for a moment, but so am I. No matter how strong I am, my head is still vulnerable to blunt force. But I am used to it and know what happens, so I can use my muscle memory to bring out my knife and stab the FCKER in the neck. I feel the blood run over my hand and pull out. Wet hands mean a weak grip and I can't allow that. I move forward, pushing the man away and running towards one of my men who is about to get impaled. I swing my mace and hit the arm of the Ironborn who is about to slice my man in half. Arg, I don't stop moving and pull my mace out, ripping his arm apart. My man sees the opportunity and impales the iron cunt with his sword, while I turn around and swing my mace at the other one who strikes from the back. Clang, our weapons clash and I push with all my strength, to overpower him and keep my momentum going. But he is a strong FCKER, I'll give him that, and it is hard for me to do what I want. I shift my weight from one side to the other in a quick fashion and change his center of gravity, allowing me to surprise him and push him off his feet. I lift my leg and kick him in the balls. Immediately I feel the resistance crumble and push forward. My mace reaches his face and I see the second of fear as he understands what will happen. Kaelschlick, the nails pierce his face and kill him. I stand back up and move back, dodging a spear thrust aimed at my chest. I breathe heavily but have no time to assess the damage I have attained right now. Another iron cunt comes from the side, giving them the advantage. But I'm a bear and this is my land I am fighting for. They will fall here. Rah! I shout and run towards them. I run towards the man on the right. Both of them prepare and sneer at my lame attempt to fight. But I am not an idiot, that was my plan all along. Just before they thrust their weapons at me, I change my direction and move to the left. They didn't see that coming from a bitch, like I am, as they called me. I am far too close for the man to change the direction of his spear thrust and reach him. I swing my mace with my full strength and crush his head. Bang, puff, blood splashes all around and reaches my face. I move back instinctively as the blood reaches my eyes, and that is a death sentence in battle. As it happens, I suddenly feel the pain coming from my leg. I swing my mace without looking and hear the pained shout of the man who was standing at my right just moments before. Ah, FC King Whore. I will F*CKINGR* ape you. I still have my eyes closed as there is blood all around it, and instead of reacting, I simply rush the cunt. I don't know whether he has a knife or a sword ready, but I don't care. I take my chances and tackle the man. He didn't see that coming, it would seem, as he didn't have a weapon ready. We both fall to the ground, with me on top of him. I pull my fist back and punch the FCKER again and again. After a moment, all I hear is the wet sounds of blood as his face is crushed and brain matter surely leaks out of his skull. Quickly, I grab hold of his body, looking for some form of cloth. Gods be good, I find some and wipe my eyes with it, regaining sight. And not a moment too soon. I see another Ironborn about to kill me, when an arrow hits him in the neck, killing him. Cock, one of my men runs towards me and helps me stand, giving me my mace. Lady Mage, things aren't looking good. We managed to hold them, but the Ironborn have disengaged. Their ship left their men here and has managed to slip past us. They are approaching the shore, he yells. Shit, that was what we wanted to avoid. I see the few remaining Ironborn fighting the rest of my men. The fight cost us much, but if the Ironborn hadn't decided to move towards the shore, we would probably have lost all men and I would be dead for sure. What about Kulrin? Is he here yet? I ask. Just about. The winds weren't good just now, but he has managed to reach our position. What should we do? He asks me. Kill the Ironborn. I'm sure Jorah will be ready when they land. We have to be quick. Go. I look across the water and see the ship of Leman. I can't tell from here, but I do see a maelstrom flashing across the deck there. I can count on him to help, should I not manage it in time. With a shout, I attack the last remaining iron cunts on my ship. Writing such scenes is hard for me. I apologize for the delay. 29 comments 0 vote. Fosterage v. Well, I'm back and I will have some time on my hands to write a bit. I hope you will enjoy it. 279 AC. Bay of Ice, Bear Island. Third-person POV. Leman looked around the ship. He was so absorbed in the fight and had entered that state, if you will. Whenever he gets into a fight, he turns into a storm that doesn't stop until everything is dead. That doesn't mean he has lost control, but he is literally a machine in that state. His ever-improving senses sweep across the battle and he notices that the fight is more than one on his side. The only thing that remains is the last remaining Ironborn ship that managed to slip past Miage and is now heading towards the shore. A few men stayed back to take care of the remaining Ironborn and then sail their ship to Bear Island. Meanwhile, Leman and the remaining Bear Islander are on their way to the shore again, to kill the last Ironborn. The Ironborn are a bother to Bear Island, and with the economic rise of the island, the raids got more frequent over the years. That was good and bad for Bear Island. Good, because it allowed for Leman to have a good time and to shed some blood, and bad because once Leman left, Bear Island would be left to deal with the raids alone. However, Leman had an idea for that. He was thinking about traveling to the Iron Islands and speaking with the Greyjoys about their way of life. The raping and raving of villages across Westeros had to stop. They were simply too lazy to sow seeds and grow their food. Something about the arrogance and the lawlessness of the action of the Ironborn irked Leman the wrong way. He could feel every fiber in his body protest and urge him to crush those disgusting pricks. The old way would have to die, that was for sure, and Leman would make sure of it, one way or the other. He focused his fury on the current task. His mind was racing at light speed, or so it seemed to him at times. He was so much smarter and stronger than everyone else, and at times he might have felt a bit lonely, had there not been for Frecky and Jerry, as well as his eagle and owl. They were his constant companions and were there for him no matter what. I changed the name of his wolves. Now they are Frecky the Swift and Jerry the Cunning. Just like they were supposed to. But it wasn't just that. He could feel his psychic might starting to manifest slowly. He had an instinctual control over it that was perfect, but he knew it was there and it could destroy a lot. Then there was his aura that caused fear among other things. He heard a guard once say that he thought he saw the sun as he walked past him, which caused him to feel nauseous and see afterimages. Then there was the time that he passively caused Gior to kneel to him. Yeah, that was a hard thing to explain to others. He was so much more than others and it was starting to show more and more. Thankfully, he was not growing at the accelerated rate the Primarchs did. And yet, he couldn't help but feel at peace when he was in the wilds or fighting a bloody battle against these Ironborns. There was something interesting coming up, at least. There was talk about a tourney at Harrenhal and he was going there together with his siblings, that was for sure. So many lords and ladies would attend there and he was interested to see what the southern lords were like. Were they truly as crafty as his father always said and as weak as Brandon made them out to be? He would find out for sure then. The ship sailed quickly through the waters, trying to catch up to the Ironborn vessel. But they wouldn't make it. Now it was time for Jorah and the men at shore to shine and hold off the Ironborn until the Primarch arrived. The force of nature, they called him, and if only they knew how right they were. The Ironborn ship arrived at the muddy shore. Their ship drove up on the shore and then stopped moving. With a battle cry that was just something random, the Ironborn jumped out of their ship, swinging their swords, aiming their arrows and yelling profanities everywhere. The inhabitants of Bear Island didn't let the words of the squids deter them, however. They were prepared in formation. Jorah was waiting for the Ironborn to arrive closely enough, while the few archers were aiming at the enemy archers in the hopes of taking them out and allowing them to concentrate on the melee. But that wasn't quite working out as they hoped, and some enemy archers were still alive and shooting their arrows. Leman had shown them some tactics and had strong and sturdy shields handed out to every man and woman on Bear Island. He instilled protecting each other in them. Despite being only 11 name days old, Leman was a figure of authority on Bear Island, only second to Mage and Jorah. But sometimes he might as well be above them when it comes to what it feels like to be a leader. Wait. Jorah told his men to wait for the perfect time. The Ironborn were numerous still, despite fighting on board Maega's ship and losing a considerable amount of men. So the timing was crucial. Now, attack! Jorah yelled and the bears attacked. *BOOMM. Shouts of pain and grunting from the bears are heard as they hold on to their formation and the shields. This is an important moment in the fight and they can't give in. If they let the Ironborn push them away now, they will lose a great advantage. They can't have them behind them, that would spell doom for the men and they know it. The Ironborn are still arriving and crashing into the shields. The strong men and women of the bears press their legs into the ground, to stop themselves from being pushed back. And then it is over. The last Ironborn pushes over and the Islander can go on the offensive. Attack! Jorah shouts. The men shouted their battle cry and thrust their swords forward. The chainmail of the Ironborn held off some damage, but not all of them could escape the deadly blades of the bears. Jorah Mormont was a skilled fighter. His father Jeor and his aunt Mage taught him and was battle-hardened already. The young Mormont swings his sword at an Ironborn. He manages to push forward his strength higher than that of his adversary. The men clench their jaws and try to get out of their hold. Jorah knows when to change tactics though, and he shifts his weight to the right and uses his sword to deflect his opponent's sword. He presses his right leg down firmly and pushes off. His sword moves from top to bottom to his side and he swings it with all his strength. Whoosh! The sword hits the Ironborn's metal armor and makes a high-pitched sound. Cling! Although the attack didn't draw blood, it knocked the air out of the Ironborn's lungs and took away his stability. Jorah doesn't miss this chance. He changes his grip and aims between the protective metal plates of the armor. Jorah thrusts with full force. Slick KK. A wet and unpleasant sound is heard as Jorah's sword digs deep into the Ironborn's flesh, severing several arteries and veins. Nerves and other organs must have been hit too, because the Ironborn cries out loudly in pain. Arg shit fuck fu, shing. Jorah swings his sword one last time and cuts the Ironborn off his head. He takes deep breaths of air into his lungs to oxygenate his muscles again and release the carbon dioxide. That is necessary to not get too tired too quickly. Something that his father told him to do, but couldn't explain why. It was Leman who told the men and women why it was important. But there is no time to take much breathing time. From Jorah's blind spot, another Ironborn attacks him, trying to sneak attack and kill the leader of their party. Jorah hears the crack of the enemy's shoes too late. He turns around and sees an axe coming down on him. He tries to defend but... Chuck! Arg! An arrow hits the Ironborn in the shoulder as he is just about to kill Jorah, saving his life. Seeing this, Jorah moves forward and tackles the man to the ground, hitting his face with the handle of his sword. Then he raises his sword and brings it down, impaling the Ironborn and nailing him to the ground. Jorah, who is covered in blood, looks around. The next attacker is already there. But his attention is not fully focused. He sees the leader of the Ironborn at the other end of the battlefield, making short work of his bears. A rather old man with white hair is cutting through his brothers and sisters like that. He is worried and is about to make his way over there when he sees something that reassures him. *BOOOM. There is a loud thud as the young wolf's large stature hits the ground. Leman is here. Although Jorah is rather jealous of Leman, he can't help but smile reassuringly. Because he knows that if he's here, they've already won. So he can concentrate on his opponent. Leman lands on the shore. He has already seen the state of the battlefield from the ship and knows what to do. With quick steps, not really befitting a man as big as he is, he makes his way to the first Ironborn. Leman's impact was heard by all the men and women, which was his intention. Leman's presence was a morale boost for the bears and a break in concentration for the Ironborn. The much smaller Ironborn screams angrily and swings his sword with all his strength towards Leman. The man uses all his strength. Pumped full of adrenaline, all his pain is suppressed and he swings his arms. As he finishes his movement, he sees Leman standing in front of him, unharmed. The Ironborn is confused and takes a step back. But just as he wants to attack again he notices something missing. His arms are missing completely. Our body is a miracle. He didn't feel anything, but as the realization kicks in, so does the pain. Aar. Swing. The head of the Ironborn falls to the ground after Leman swings his sword once. His strength is out of this world. The fact that he can cut through armored Ironborn with a normal steel sword says it all. Force is equal to acceleration * mass. Using his strength, Leman can accelerate his sword to ridiculous degrees, allowing him to cut through the chainmail with ease. But as Newton's third law tells us, action equals reaction. So the force of his blows also causes his sword to suffer greatly and break very often. He is still in need of a good sword. Leman walks forward. The kill of the Ironborn just now means nothing and is forgotten as soon as he swings his sword. The other Ironborn who saw that are perplexed and fear starts to make its way into their hearts. Despite their words, what is dead may never die, They are cowards at heart. Another Ironborn attacks Leman. He doesn't even turn around and simply cuts him deep into the shoulder. His sword gets stuck, but that doesn't stop him from moving forward. The body of the dead Ironborn is being dragged behind him since his sword is stuck inside his body. But Leman doesn't care at all. Like getting rid of blood, he pushes the body off his sword. More and more men attack him, but after the 5th Ironborn dies, Leman's sword breaks. He looks at it with disdain. Thinking that this was their chance, the Ironborn rush towards him, shouting more profanities and insulting Leman's mother and whatnot. He doesn't care. They will all die anyway. Using the former longsword like a throwing knife, Leman throws it at the first Ironborn. The force of the throw makes the broken sword cut through the armor and through his entire body. But the brutality is not over yet. Leman catches the arm of another Ironborn and breaks it with ease. Like it was made of sticks, he folds the arm and uses the Ironborn as a baseball bat, swatting away the flies that are the Ironborn. Gore and blood splat all over the battlefield, painting a bloody picture. Necks are broken, bodies almost ripped in half and torsos punched through with his fist. After a short moment, Leman arrives in front of the leader of the Ironborn. The rather old white-haired man stands proudly in front of Leman. Arrogance is what is visible in his demeanor. I am Sigfrid Silverhair, master of Harrenhal. I must admit that you are a strong one. What is dead, may never, cock. His words are cut off as a large paw grabs his throat and slowly lifts him into the air. Sigfrid struggles and punches as hard as he can, but it changes nothing. The executioner will come for the Iron Islands. The old way will die. Crack. The neck of Sigfrid Harla, called Sigfrid Silverhair, is snapped and he falls to the ground, dead. The fight against the Ironborn was over. Sorry for the late update, but the university kept me busy. I'll update the next chapter sooner through. I hope you like it. 28 comments 0 vote. Fosterage v. 280 AC. Bear Island. Third person POV. Time passed and the year 280 after the conquest arrived. Bear Island had seen some remarkable changes in those times. From the rather primitive and simple island, plagued by constant pillaging from the wildlings to the north and the Ironborn to the south, it was now a rather prosperous island. The men and women of Bear Island had learned what it means to have some comfort. The northerners were used to the cold, but having warmth was not something they were against. On the contrary, warmth allowed them to prosper and actually raise their survival rate. Newborns and children didn't freeze to death anymore, and the food was also helping. The terribly primitive ships Leman cringed when he presented to Gior had been transformed and improved. Fishing and whaling became much easier with the better boats Leman had built, and it allowed the people of Bear Island to eat more and still have something left over to sell. Their economy rose slightly, but at least it rose. The idea of Leman about fishing was not an immediate success, but there were those who were interested to see how the Bear Islanders could transport fish and meat without it going bad and rotting like that. I know that they might know, but just go with it, please. The northern houses of Wool, Nori, Harclay, Knot and Burley were very interested in the fish and whale meat sold by the Mormonts. The Night's Watch was also interested, but their funds were rather limited. House Stark wasn't that interested at first, but since Rickard kept a close watch over the progress of his son, he came to know about it soon and was willing to buy the fish and whale meat. There were some tensions with House Manderley since they were the merchant house of the North and they didn't like it if someone entered the same business. But as members of the North, their camaraderie managed to win out in the end and they found a middle ground. Whale meat was not something that House Manderley could provide very often anyway, and that made it a very pricey good. But House Mormonts could provide a more or less steady supply of whale meat, so that became their main export good. Apart from selling fish and whale meat, Bear Island also became known as a shipbuilding house that could provide good ships for the right price. But they only sold to the north. It was an important detail that would surely make the South nervous in the future, but for now, it was only fishing ships and merchant ships. To make sure that they didn't cut everything down, Leman has a strict plan for when and how many trees can be felled and how many must be replanted. At first, this was not really accepted, as there were more than enough trees, but over time it was accepted by the residents. Leman had grown yet again, reaching 6 feet in height. It was unknown when he would stop growing, but he guessed it was not any time soon. He just hoped that he could at least have sex when he was fully grown, otherwise, he would have to live a celibate life, and that wasn't something he wanted really. He didn't feel the need to have intercourse or release some steam, like other normal men, but he would still like to do it at some point. He had stopped practicing any form of combat with the other bears, for the simple reason that no one wanted to anymore. He was just too strong at this point. Even while holding back, he folded them like a piece of cloth. He spent a lot of time in the woods, building a nice house for himself. Picture. It wasn't anything large, but he could fit inside nicely. At least for the moment. He would probably have to remake it when he grows larger. He felt like Ferrus Manus or Rogel Dorn with how much he built new things or fortified stuff. He had to make sure not to go overboard and make the improvements as minor as possible so that they could be implemented without being noticed. The greatest improvement he made was to create their whale fishing vessel, Whale's Bane. Picture. This was the largest fishing boat they had at the moment, and it was also the only one that was this large. The reason Leman created this one was because he wanted to add something special to it. Whaling was a dangerous job if he wasn't present. So to make things easier and give the Mormonts an easier time, when he eventually left, he created a weapon, the harpoon gun. Naturally, he couldn't outright create that, so he did the next best thing. He combined a ballista with a harpoon and the result was a harpoon gun. Picture. He didn't have to fear the weapon getting into the wrong hands, because he never created plans on how to create it. No one could ask for the secret or steal it because it existed only in his head. Reverse engineering would also prove difficult if not impossible, since he hid all the things that allowed them to pick it apart. If the harpoon gun ballista broke, he would have to fix it personally. The idea was simple. He added a thick and powerful rope to the harpoon, and when they hit the whale with it, he would struggle against it and try to pull away. But the rope was connected to the large whaling boat and would stop the whale from diving deep. The other much smaller fishing boats and whaling boats would then come and use their own harpoons to finally kill the whale. It was not a nice thing to do, from a modern viewpoint, but that was the harsh reality of the world. A few interesting things happened in this year of 280 AC. Firstly, Mage gave birth to another daughter again. Lyra Mormont was born, the third daughter of House Mormont. It was becoming a joke at this point. Other women in Westeros would cry tears if their third successful birth resulted in a girl yet again. Queen Aemma Targaryen had miscarriages and deaths of babes and they were screaming for a boy. And here was Mage Mormont. She had 3 successful births, each time it was a girl, and she was glowing with pride and love. Mage was a bear though, so she didn't care if it was a boy or a girl. She loved her bear cubs either way. "Come girls, say hello to our newest cub," Mage says as she sees Daisy and Alysanne look through the door gap. Daisy, Maega's firstborn, was now 10 days old. She was the oldest and the elder sister of not one but now 2 siblings. With slow steps, the 2 girls approached their mother's bed. Alysanne was 5 days this year and she was a very curious child. "Can I hold her?" she asks, her eyes shining eagerly. "No, you're not strong enough, Allie," Daisy says, making Alysanne pout. "Then what about you, Daisy? Do you want to hold Lyra?" Mage asks gently. She sees the fear in Daisy's eyes. The doubt about letting her newest sister fall and whether she would be good enough and. "Calm down, Daisy. You are a good sister and more than strong enough to hold her. I trust you," Mage says. She hands the infant Lyra to Daisy and places her in her arms gently. Daisy looks at her youngest sibling with love and sees the cute smile. She understands the responsibility that this babe represents. Her young mind tells her that she will have to be 2 times as strong to defend both her sisters as she is now. She makes a mental note to ask her big brother Leman about it. He will know how to grow stronger. Mage can see the conviction in her daughter's eyes to train more and grow stronger. She smiles at that. The family has grown a bit larger again and House Mormont is prospering. Now, only Jorah will need a wife to call his own and for her to give him children. But where would they find someone like that? Bear Island is not a place where the young maidens like to visit. In the rest of Westeros, things had turned worse yet again. And it was Aerys II Targaryen who many would claim was the reason for that. Aerys II Targaryen, he had declared upon his coronation that it was his wish to be the greatest king in the history of the 7 kingdoms. Some of his friends encouraged this by suggesting that one day he would be known as Aerys the Wise or Aerys the Great. During the early years of his reign, Aerys took an active part in his rule. He was ambitious during this time, and boasted about many grand plans, although he lost interest in them quickly as well. His plans, none of which would ever be carried out, included invading the Stepstones and adding them to his kingdom. Building a new wall hundreds of miles north of the current one to extend his kingdom to the north after a visit from Lord Rickard Stark in 264 AC. Building a city of white marble on the south bank of the Blackwater Rush after complaining of the smell of King's Landing in 265 AC. Building a war fleet to bring the Titan to its knees, after a dispute with the Iron Bank of Bravos in 267 AC, and building an underwater canal from the Rainwood to make the deserts of Dornay bloom after visiting the southern region in 270 AC. It was hard to say when things truly began to turn for the worst, but the year 277 AC was probably the main reason. The defiance of Duskendale happened. But what happened really? And why did it lead to the king becoming more paranoid and crazy? Lord Dennis Darklin of Duskendale desired to win a charter for Duskendale, which would give him more autonomy from the crown, and so he made his proposal to the crown in 277 AC. Why did he want that? Money, of course. It was always about money and power in Westeros. Lord Tywin Lannister refused the proposal, but Dennis would not give up so easily. Having noticed the deteriorated relationship between Aerys and Tywin, Dennis decided to withhold his payments to the crown and instead invited the king to Duskendale to hear his petition for a new charter. He was clever. He knew that Tywin would be against it and that the king would do it, to spite Tywin, who was his lord hand at that point. While Aerys had intended to decline the invitation, the king changed his mind when Tywin advised him to refuse in the strongest possible terms. Eager to demonstrate his ability to handle the situation without the help of his hand, Aerys decided to settle the issue personally and bring the defiant Lord Darklin to heel. Informing Grand Maester Pycelle and the small council of his decision, Aerys traveled to Duskendale, against Lord Tywin's advice, taking a small force led by Esser Gwaine Gaunt of the Kingsguard. The invitation proved to be a trap, however, and Aerys walked right into it. The king was captured. A scandal. For 6 entire months, the king was held prisoner until Esser Barristan Selmy of the Kingsguard managed to save him. What followed was a tragedy. The defiance of Duskendale was a problem for both the realm as well as House Targaryen. For the realm, it was the start of a time with a king who was turning mad more and more. For House Targaryen, it was a massive show of weakness. A weakness that the realm would not forget. This weakness wasn't new. Ever since the disappearance of dragons, House Targaryen was in decline, but this, the fact that the king himself could be captured and taken as a hostage, was a new low and terrible for them. In this year, 280 AC, the king started to burn more and more criminals, and life in King's Landing was getting more and more dangerous. But a sign of respite traveled through the realm. A tourney was announced. A tourney that promised to become the greatest one ever in the history of Westeros. The prize money was astronomically high, and it was certain that many lords and ladies were going to travel to Harrenhal to attend or simply to watch and form new bonds. It would be interesting to see what would happen this time around. There was a Primarch who was going to attend. It would promise to be interesting, that was certain. A little gift for having to wait for so long. I hope you like it. 35 comments, 0 vote. Tourney at Harrenhal I, 281 AC. Winterfell, Leman POV. It was finally time. I turned 13 name days old a sennight ago. I am now considered to be of age. A grown man in all things and ready to be used politically. And I noticed that my father has long gotten many offers from females from across the north. I find that to be hilarious, as there is no way for me to marry someone I don't like or love. In short, I will choose my partner on my own, and there is nothing father can do about it. I can already hear him shout and get angry at me when I tell him where he can shove his marriage proposals. But what is he going to do about it? I am 6 feet 3 inches at 13, so I'm already as tall as he is, but multiple times his strength. Of course, I don't want to fight my father, but to preserve my freedom, I will do what I must. I am currently riding back to Winterfell, on a rather unhappy horse. My weight is probably too much for the sad animal, and I will have to travel on foot, or carry the horse myself. To show it how it's done. I wonder what I'll do when I grow even larger and heavier. There is no limit in sight, and I am convinced of growing to full Primarch height. That is roughly between 12 and 14 feet, though some authors have them more like 10 feet range and others clear of 18 feet in some cases. Alfarius was said to be able to disguise or go as a normal space marine, so he and his twin were surely the shortest. Magnus the Red was naturally the tallest out of all his brothers, and that is without Biomancy. The only two Primarchs whose heights were mentioned are Lorgar and the Lion. Lorgar looked magnificent, near 3 meters tall, bearer of the word, and the Lion was a truly imposing physical specimen. A giant, standing at a little under 3 meters tall, descent of angels. Of course, it isn't certain what meters mean exactly and if 1 meter is the same on each planet. But I can expect 3 meters roughly. A problem I will have to address is my lack of equipment. Even the best steel swords are useless to me. I will need a stronger sword. I don't know how to create a more powerful weapon, but I have heard about the strongest metal in this world called Valyrian steel. I don't know why they claim that, but I do know that Gior has such a weapon and it is indeed stronger than normal steel. Maybe I can acquire one of those myself, but how? I am interested in a longsword, a battle axe and a spear. Those 3 weapons suit me best. Over the course of these 7 years, I wasn't home all that much. Which is not smart, considering that relationships are best formed when a child is young. My relationship with my siblings was already rather distant and now, it is probably more so. But it doesn't matter. I see them as my family and I will protect my family, no matter what. I do wonder though, if the entire realm is like this or as bad as Brandon made it out to be. From what he told me, the South seems to be a political swamp where loyalties shift at a moment's notice. As I ride ever so slowly, I finally see our family's castle in the distance. Winterfell was the ancient seat of House Stark and the biggest castle in the north. It was also one of the largest in the entire realm for that matter. Seeing it after a long time is good. It is good to see my family again and to enjoy some time for the time being. I ride through Wintertown and am greeted by a few people who remember me. The only reason they remember me is my looks. The blonde Stark coupled with my stature is not something you forget easily. I nod my head at the people who greet me and make my way to the castle. I see my family waiting for me when I arrive at the entrance. Brandon has grown a bit more but isn't much larger than I am at this point. Brandon is hot-headed and passionate, often drinking too much and getting in trouble with father. But father likes Brandon the most out of his children, at least from what I could observe up to this point. I see Brandon smiling as he sees me, clearly happy to see me after all this time. Eddard has also grown up a bit. I haven't seen him in a few years, since he was in the Eyrie being fostered under Jon Arryn in the Vale together with Robert Baratheon. Eddard was always the silent wolf among all of us, well apart from me that is. His grey eyes used to observe a lot of things. He is the dutiful son among us since Brandon has all the character and charisma and I as the third son, don't have many responsibilities apart from marrying and forging political bonds. Lyanna has also grown up, but from what I can see, not only has her stature grown, but her fierce spirit has probably as well. She looks happy to see me but fidgets all over the place having trouble waiting and standing still. She is spirited and willful, giving our parents a headache more often than not. Honestly, I don't understand the idea of forbidding her to fight like the men. Why would you make one of your family members knowingly weaker and a target? That's why I teach Lyanna when I have time and when I used to return. Now that I can decide when I am here in Winterfell and on Bear Island, I will spend more time teaching her. Finally, we have Benjen. The youngest among us, but just as dutiful from what I gathered. He will surely be loyal in the future, but I don't see him becoming a marvelous fighter the way things are going. He needs to grow some muscles. Lyanna can't handle it anymore and rushes towards me. Father knows that calling her won't matter to her, since she wouldn't listen. Eddard doesn't know that though. Lyanna. I jump from the back of the suffering horse and catch Lyanna, who flies into my arms. I lift her up and we both laugh. My Lyanna, have you gotten lighter again? You should really eat more. She hits my hands in anger. You're just larger again. How can a boy of 10 and 3 name days be so large already? What do they feed you? Peef, you blonde giant you. I would never want to look like you. Lyanna shouts. I look at her and bring her in for a hug. I missed you, Lyanna. How was it? Did you learn how to use the sword or the axe? No, he is still as stupid as before. Although I am now almost 15 name days old, he still thinks I'm his little girl. Leman, you have to teach me. Lyanna whispers and then whines at the end. I smile when I hear her and nod my head. That is the plan anyway. I set her down and together we walk over to the rest of the family. Brandon is grinning brightly, while Mother looks amused and happy to have me back. Benjen also runs to us and hugs me. Finally you're back. How did you grow so large, Leman? I want to know too so that I can also grow so large, Benjen says. Eat, drink and fight. Those are the things I did on Bear Island. I suppose I can introduce you to those things as we. Absolutely not, Father says. You will not teach Benjen how to do those things for another few years at least. He looks at me as my siblings embrace me. The only one out is Eddard, who is still standing there stiffly. I understand him though, he has turned into an honorable stranger in the north. It's good to have you back, Leman. There are a few things we have to discuss, Father says and then turns around and leaves. I can tell that the doubts are returning. The doubts that plagued him since the day I was born. Whether or not, Mother, his wife, Leman Stark cheated on him with a southern lord. My looks are speaking for such a thing, at least my hair. Jealousy makes a man blind to the truth. I mean, who even could be the man to impregnate Mother that would result in me? It would have to be a giant, or a giant Lannister or something like that. Father's jealousy at this small doubt made him distant from me. That was the reason he sent me to Bear Island instead of a bigger house. What good did I do him on Bear Island? Sure, I made House Mormont a valuable asset to the north and House Stark, but he didn't expect that. Seeing Father walk away, Mother comes and embraces me tightly. She stands on her toes and kisses me on the cheek. She smiles. Hello dear, I am so happy that you're back. It has been far too long since you came to visit. It was quite long. How are you, Mother? I ask her. The same as always, son. I am fine, now that all my cubs are around me. Although some of them have grown far too quickly. Finally, I walk up to Eddard, who is still standing in the same position and hasn't moved yet. He smiles lightly when he sees me, but I think it is more of a grimace than a smile. I always thought that it was a bad idea to have him fostered in the Vale of Arryn. Jon Arryn is an idiot and his doctrine of honor is so stupid that it almost makes me puke. I grin suddenly and embrace Eddard, lifting him into the air at the same time. Well, if it isn't the Honorable Wolf. How have you been, Ned? I ask him. What did you say? I think he can't breathe, dear. How about you let him down? Mother says and smiles. Ha, Leman, you've put on some weight and muscles it would seem. Let's test just how much you've improved later in the yard, laughs Brandon. No, Leman will teach me about the sword and the axe and maybe also the spear. So you will have to wait until later, Lyanna remarks and steps on Brandon's foot. He, Benjen simply laughs at the scene from the side. Ha, it's good to see you again, Leman. You've grown, Ned tells me after taking some breaths. Ha, come on Ned. Tell me about your time in the Vale and those silly ideas they gave you about the world. Dinner was a nice affair. Lots of drinks, food and stories. Of course, even Benjen was allowed 1 glass of wine. Honestly, I hate the wine in this world. Who would drink wine, but some pompous prick? It serves no purpose. It is expensive and you have to drink quite a bit until you get drunk. I might have to change that in the future. A good drink would be beneficial for all of us. Especially for my sanity and enjoyment. After the dinner, Father asked me to come to his solar to discuss some things. I know what this is about and I don't like it. It will be the first time we clash probably. But he will get over it in time, he has to. Unlike so many others, I don't care about the image, or the standing, of our house. I live in the moment and as long as those I care about are well taken care of, I am content. Knock. I knock on the door to Father's solar. Come in, I hear him mutter on the other side and open the door. Good, you're here, then let's get to the topic at hand. I am still thinking about whether I should have him find some stash of Valyrian steel in Old Valyria e.g., or if he should just grab some Valyrian steel swords from his enemies during the rebellion and then reforge his weapons from that. Leave some suggestions, please. 46 comments 0 vote. Tourney at Harrenhal 2. Tell me if you got the reference in this chapter. I thought it was not bad. I was going for the same thing, but of course, I couldn't do it. I still hope you like it. 281 AC. Winterfell. Rickard POV. I hear the knock at the door. Come in, I mutter and see the door open. It's just as I thought, he is a strange one. How could he have heard that? Good, you're here, then let's get to the topic at hand. I watch as my youngest son walks in casually and then sits on the chair in front of the desk. His demeanor is usually the same one of indifference. He has truly grown a lot over the years and has reached the height of a grown man at the tender age of 10 and 3. I don't speak and neither does he. He looks me in the eyes, ever the confrontationist that he is. I don't see any form of fear or any other form of emotion in his eyes. I look him over. The strong muscles that bulge his clothes, his canines like those of a wolf, and then that blonde hair. The one thing that I hated about him. Ever since his birth, I couldn't help but feel apprehensive about Leman. His strange behavior and looks. Never did he scream for food or because he shit himself. Nothing seemed to ever faze him. He never fell, never took time to learn and immediately understood things, didn't make babe noises as is usual, and instead started speaking perfectly when he was 3 days old. His strength was always higher than his peers. I saw how he refused to fight his siblings when we wanted to introduce him to the sword. The arrogance I thought he had when he claimed to already know how to fight, and then the bruises he gave me when I challenged him to prove it. The humiliation he gave me that day is something I know I will never forgive him. His win against Jeor Mormont, while good to know, wasn't really surprising. I began to dislike him. The feeling, which started out as a small whisper in the farthest depths of my mind, grew gradually as Leman showed more and more promise and abnormalities. I began to hate his strength, his calm demeanor, the lack of faults, and his successes reported from Bear Island. I tried to undermine him and his progress, to make him pale in comparison to his brothers. That was the true reason for sending him to Bear Island. I hid this from everyone, of course. Lara might have guessed the truth but never said anything. The threat of the Ironborn was also something I counted on, but here he sits, not weaker but stronger than ever. I don't know how it got to this point, but I realized that everything started with the color of his hair. That blonde hair he has, which is so unlike anything a Stark is supposed to have, and the implications it has. Betrayal. Well, what? He asks. How are you? I ask him. Good. Quote. Is that it? You haven't changed at all. Quote. Quote. Well, what? He asks again, making me angry. Open your mouth, boy. Show your father some respect. What would you like to talk about? He asks me nonchalantly. I stop myself from exploding in anger since I know that it wouldn't help in any way. Instead, I start with what I wanted to talk about. Now that you have come of age, it is time for you to help the family and House Stark. This means you will have to marry in the future. There were a surprising amount of marriage proposals for you. Most of them were for Brandon, but he has already been engaged to Hoster Tully's oldest daughter, Caitlin Tully. Eddard also has a few options open, and that leaves Benjen and you. I have already decided on whom you will wed. It is for the stability of the North that you will wed Lord Serwyn's daughter, Janelle Serwyn. Quote. Quote. He doesn't say anything for a moment. I watch him for any reaction, but he doesn't say anything. Thinking that he is accepting the situation grittingly, I continue. Since no. Quote. Come again. I said no, I won't marry Janelle Serwyn. You will, and there is nothing you can do about it. I will not, and there are a lot of things I can do about it, he says, angering me greatly. You will do as I wish, and that is final. I say angrily. No, I think that it is only fair that I tell you that I will choose my own bride, should I ever take one. I am your youngest son and child. You have more than enough to forge strong bonds with the North and do not need me. If the North's stability was so important to you, you could have allowed Brandon to wed Barbary Ricewell since they were in love already. But you chose to wed Brandon to Caitlin Tully, who is not only a fish, but a southern fish. So don't tell me you want to use my marriage as a way to stabilize the North, because it isn't true. I don't say anything for a moment. He is right and managed to point out my ambitions, but still, his words make me angry. The gall of this boy to say this to my face, to the face of his father. I feel my anger overwhelm me. So I do what I shouldn't do. I shout. As long as you live under my roof, you will do what I tell you to. I am the Lord of House Stark, and you are but the youngest of my children and have no right to demand or ask anything of me. You think you are responsible and can act on your own. Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with swords with the power to do it. Who's gonna do it? You. I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You weep for making your own choice in choosing a bride, and you curse the times you live in. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know, that Brandon's little love story with a nobody, while tragic, probably benefits House Stark in the future, and my choice to have my children, all of my children, marry for the benefit of House Stark, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, is for the betterment and future of our house. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a boy who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very security and prosperity that I provide and then questions the manner in which I provide it. I would rather that you just said, "Thank you," and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you pick up the pace and stand the post, dealing with the political nightmare that is Westeros and the North. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to. ... I breathe heavily after this. We look each other in the eye and he doesn't break it. He doesn't look fazed in the slightest still. On the contrary, he looks amused. Before I can continue my monologue and give out punishments, he stands up to full height. We are the same height now. That was a good speech, Father. I admire your skill with the tongue, maybe you should focus on that. Poor mother, she might have had a lot of fun in the bedroom, if you didn't act like a pouty child and show her the cold shoulder. You are right in what you say, but you forget a few things. The security and prosperity you provide weren't provided by you alone but by the culmination of those who came before you. Your economic acumen is close to zero, your arrogance is far too high for the amount of skill you show. I never weaken. I am no boy. When I say I choose my own bride, I choose my own bride and there is nothing you can do about it. So you better decide right now, Rickard Stark. What will it be? Will you allow me to do that, or will House Stark turn into a laughingstock, because you can't keep your son under control? This is a world where only the strongest get to have a voice and power, and I am the strongest. I am the executioner, the one you call when you want the unkillable killed, the Wolf King and the Great Wolf. *WWOOOSSHHHH. The gale came from nowhere as if the chamber wall had been punched out into the void. The force of this unknown wind knocks me sideways, flooring me. My vision reels and my head cracks hard against the stone floor, blood running down my face. I hear what sounds like thunder breaking. With a lurch of recognition, I realize the rush of this wind is not natural, and it is also no coincidence that it arrived at this moment. My vision darkens as I lose more blood. With one final glance, I look at Leman. The game is over. The Wolf King has arrived. ... I try to open my eyes and wince in pain. Who would have thought that the simple act of opening my eyes would cause me this much pain and difficulty? When I finally manage, I notice that I am in my bed. Ah, Rickard, you're awake. Thank goodness. I'll go call the maester at once, I hear Lara say. She rushes out of the room like a whirlwind. Wind, right, that's the last thing I remember before everything went dark. That strange wind came from nowhere and knocked me to the ground. And then Leman, it was him, wasn't it? He used something on me. Magic. The Starks have the blood of the first men in them, so having magic is not the most unrealistic thought, but that would mean that he truly is a Stark. Wargs or greenseers are somewhat frequent from the legends here in the north, but not the ability to control wind like that. As long as it was wind. Thinking back to it. Arg, pain, lots of pain. Just trying to think about it gives me the feeling of hundreds of swords piercing my skull. Ha ha ha. I breathe heavily. Enduring this pain uses a lot of energy. I take deep breaths and try to calm down somewhat. The last time I felt this way was when my father had to teach me a lesson and brought me to Wolfswood to hunt. That was the first time I saw a direwolf. ... Wait, what happened? I feel like something happened that caused me to act so estranged from both Leman and Lara. But I am not sure what it is. My memories are all confusing and I feel like they're not my own. I think. Boom. The door is slammed open and Lara rushes in. She looks very worried for me. I neglected her for a long time now, because of the jealousy and shame I thought she brought upon me. I thought she bedded another man and sired Leman. But looking at her now, I know this isn't true, so what is going on? What happened? Why did I start to act that way? And where did those foreign thoughts come from? How do you feel, Rickard? She asks me worriedly and takes my hand into hers. Wah, tear, I croak. Of course, my love. Let me get some water for you, she says and gets the jug of water. She looks worried but controlled. Clearly, things went as planned in the treatment. Or at least I think so. It pains me to see her like this. I was unjust to her, and despite my actions, which I feel weren't my own, I know that I hurt her for no reason. Somehow, my mind was confused and jealousy fostered, which is ridiculous to think about. I used to love Leman especially because he was so different, but still so much like a Stark. His demeanor and strength and his connection to the wolves, why did I do that? Then the maester walks in. Lord Stark, I am glad to see you awake. How are you feeling, my lord? He asks me. Hearing his voice unsettles me for some reason. I take a sip of water and then cough to clear my voice. Where are the children? They were worried about you and wanted to stay. I told them to go to Harrenhal to clear their heads, but they refused. They might not make it comfortably if they don't go soon, Lara tells me. They should go. That would give me time to recover and gather my thoughts. I was unfair to my youngest, and that will have to change. Now that my mind is clear again, I will need time to get back on my feet. The children shouldn't see Rickard Stark this week. Bring them in, I say finally. 35 comments, 0 vote. Tourney at Harrenhal 3. I need to apologize to all of you. I created a big plot hole for no reason because I was away for so long. The strange change in Rickard Stark's behavior came out of nowhere, but there was a reason for it. It was to set up a future plot point. Nevertheless, I did it horribly. Therefore I slightly changed the ending of the last chapter. After the words, which I found a bit cringe, from Leman, the thoughts of Rickard are somewhat explained, and we see that something is going on that we don't know yet. I hope this helps a bit. 281 AC. Kings Road. Third-person POV. On their way to Harrenhal, the 5 siblings were riding south on the Kings Road. After they talked with their father, he told them to go to attend the tourney and not sit around in Winterfell. Brandon didn't want to leave though, and Eddard was also unhappy about the situation. Lyanna was unsure about all this that had happened, while Benjen simply didn't understand what was happening. Everyone knew that it was Leman who was responsible for the wounds their father had gained, and it made them angry. Brandon was the one who was the loudest in his displeasure. He shouted at Leman and demanded to know what happened. Naturally, Leman refused to answer anything. What happened between him and his father in his solar was not for them to know. Lara, their mother, was aware of what must have happened, since she always doted on Leman the most, despite not seeing him that much. There were whispers in the north and Wintertown about Leman and how his hair came to be. But Leman never cared about it, which pleased his mother. The coldness and the whispers she had to endure were no less than Leman, who some even called a bastard. But she dealt with it how she should have, with the pride of a lady of Winterfell. So when the inevitable clash between her big blonde baby wolf came, she was prepared and knew what happened. Lara wasn't angry with Leman, on the contrary. She was proud of him for standing up to Rickard. Little did she know that Leman didn't even tough Rickard, his aura alone nearly killed the man. So with Lara happy, Brandon angry and loud, Eddard was angry but silent. Having been taught about honor in the Vale by his foster father, Jon Arryn, he would never raise his hand against his father or anyone in his family. But what Leman did was unforgivable and just shy of kinslaying in his opinion. Leman had started to understand that Eddard was ruined in the Vale. He had gotten soft and forgotten about the values taught in the North and House Stark. Honor was Arryn's business, and while loyalty mattered to a Stark, you had to be ruthless and most importantly smart if you wanted to survive in the North. What does it matter if you're honorable, if you die in the process? It will make you the most liked man in the graveyard. Lyanna was different though. Her love for her brother was big, but that he hurt their father was still a hard blow for her. She still thought that there had to be more to the story than meets the eye. She knew Leman and knew it was impossible to be angered for no reason. Her common sense told her that this had to have reason and that Leman would never hurt their father for no reason. And yet there was a voice in her head, whispering dark thoughts to her. The group traveled south on the King's Road and eventually passed Moat Cailin. When Leman saw it, he thought that it was a very good castle. He didn't know why, but he could feel that his brother would have a blast with this one. He was confused about this idea since neither Brandon, Eddard or Benjen liked to build or reinforce castles. The Rob had taken away his meta-essence, but some of the memories inside the DNA were there. Moat Cailin was interesting to Leman. He of course knew about the moat from his studies back in Winterfell, but seeing it now is different. Picture. Moat Cailin, sometimes called the Moat, is an ancient stronghold of the first men on the northern edge of the great swamp known as the Neck, in the south of the north. It is less than 20 miles from the headwaters of the Fever River. Moat Cailin is one of the North's most important strongholds, though much of it now stands in ruins. It commands the causeway, the safe route for armies to travel through the swamps of the Neck. Picture. Moat Cailin is an effective natural choke point which has protected the North from southern invasion for thousands of years. The Cranogmen of the Neck know unmapped routes through the swamps, such as narrow trails between the bogs and wet roads through the reeds that only boats can follow. The Cranogmen are a reclusive people who dwell in the swamps of the Neck. They are ruled by House Reed from Greywater Watch. Their current young lord is Howland Reed, who as it happens is also on his way to Harrenhal. Leman stopped riding and instead approached the ruins of Moat Cailin. "What are you doing, Leman? We are going to be late at this rate," Brandon shouted. He was still very pissed and angry with Leman and would not talk to him as he used to for a while. But Leman didn't even address Brandon and simply continued towards the moat. The siblings sighed. "Well, you do you. We will continue to actually be punctual for the opening feast," Brandon shouted and then continued riding south. Eddard followed his brother. Lyanna looked at Leman in pain. She was sad that things had gotten to this point, but she also left eventually. Benjen wanted to follow his sister, but after looking at Leman one final time, he changed his mind and followed after his younger brother. Leman didn't care and rode forward. He unmounted and examined the ruins. Both he and Benjen observed things with interest. "Did you know, Moat Cailin was once a great stronghold, with 20 towers, a wooden keep, and a great basalt curtain wall as high as that of Winterfell's. Today only great blocks of black basalt lay scattered about, half sunk in the ground where the wall once stood, and the keep rotted away. It is honestly sad to see it like this. I would have loved to see it at the height of its magnificence," Benjen said after a while. The remaining 3 towers, which are covered with green moss and white ghostskin, command the causeway from all sides so that enemies must pass between them. Attackers face constant fire from the other towers should they attempt to attack any one tower, wading through chest-deep water and crossing a moat full of lizard lions. Some of those, Leman crushed under his boot without a second thought. Picture. The Gatehouse Tower, the largest of the remaining towers, is squat and wide. It is the only tower which still stands straight, even retaining some of the walls around it, although a tree grows through its northern side. The tower's hall of dark stone is spotted with lichen and has a high, drafty ceiling. Picture. In the eyes of most, it might have been a ruin or a fragment of what it once was, but to Leman it was potential. Potential to be something great and even greater than it ever was. Benjen continued with what he knew from the books he had to read. Raised by the ancient First Men, it is claimed that Moat Cailin has defended against southern invasions for 10,000 years. Can you imagine? 10,000 years. According to myth, the Greenseers, I think they were called, the children of the forest worked dark magic at Moat Cailin. I don't know about that though. It doesn't look that dangerous to me. From the Children's Tower, they are said to have used the Hammer of the Waters on the Neck to break Westeros in two, separating the north from the south in the same manner they shattered the, what was it again? The Arm of Dorne. Right, the Arm of Dorne. The children failed and only succeeded in flooding it, however, creating bogs and swamps. Some scholars discount the legend, instead attributing the watery landscape to natural events. I don't know about that though. The Marsh Kings and their Cranogmen held Moat Cailin sometimes with the assistance of the Barrow Kings, Red Kings, and Kings of Winter against all attacks from the south. The Kings of Winter from our House Stark eventually defeated the Marsh Kings, adding Moat Cailin to the realm of Winterfell. Hee. Does that please you, brother? That your ancestors fought a bloody battle to take something that now lies in ruin? Leman asked. Well, no, but you know, I thought it was a testament to our house's strength. It does prove that the members of House Stark at that point were in some way superior to the Marsh Kings. I wasn't judging you, I myself enjoy fighting and killing is naturally involved in that as well. What else do you know? Leman asks. Well, the swampy terrain was enough to prevent Moat Cailin from falling during the coming of the Andals to Westeros. It was a key defense of the north against which Andal armies threw themselves time after time with no success. The wooden keep rotted away, 1,000 years passed. The 3 remaining towers are more than capable of defending the passage to the south, however, provided that they are fully manned. Moat Cailin has never been taken from the south, although it is vulnerable from the north and the east. So someone would have to man it again to make it great and defend us from the south. Someone will, brother, someone will. What do you mean? Benjen asks. You'll see. The two young Starks eventually crossed the neck, traveled further south on the King's Road and passed by the Trident, reaching Harrenhal. A lot of things were going on at the same time. The roads leading to Harrenhal are crowded with nobles, knights, squires, and their retinues arriving from all over Westeros. Each house brings its banners, servants, and supplies. Lords and ladies were greeted with appropriate courtesies and escorted to their accommodations within the vast castle grounds, while the servants and lesser nobles had to settle in tents outside. The fields around Harrenhal become filled with colorful pavilions and tents as each house sets up its encampments. These tents vary in size and cost, reflecting the wealth and status of their occupants. Benjen and Leman observed everything as they rode through the tumult. The number of guards and men-at-arms within and around Harrenhal is significantly increased to maintain order and ensure the safety of the high-profile guests. Regular patrols are conducted within the castle and its surroundings to prevent theft, brawls, and other disturbances. But with the number of attendees, that is impossible. Thanks to the good senses of Leman, the two eventually found the place where the Northerners had set up their tents and also the Stark siblings. Leman has long since sent Frecky and Jerry to go on and about on their own. They always know where he is, so they will come and find him later at night. Unlike everyone else, Leman has no intention of setting up a tent. Over the years on Bear Island, he has long gotten used to sleeping in the wild. After all, the cold never bothered him. Leman started walking through the hundreds of tents on the fields around Harrenhal and observed everyone. He was interested to see what these southern lords and the general populace were all about. Whether they were as bad as everyone said, or if it was all an exaggeration. He saw the looks of arrogance in the way the lords and ladies walked. The jealous when they saw someone who was higher stationed than them, greedy when money and power were involved and disregard for anyone lower than them. The small folk had to feed themselves and being popular was seen as a bonus if anything. The tourney itself is a way to gain popularity and support from many lords and their houses, but not to help the small folk. The more Leman saw, the more disgusted he became. His senses pick up so much more than anyone else and finding out the hidden, whispered words of plans and betrayal to rise the ladder. After walking for a while, he came upon a scene that almost made him break some spines then and there. He saw a small man, being beaten and kicked by 3 squires. The squires were taller than he was, but still boys if their looks were anything to go by. "Why are you trying to get back up, frog-eater?" one of them shouted and kicked the young man in the ribs. "Yeah, stop breathing, it stinks," another one says. Just as Leman is about to intervene, he sees something and stops. "That's my father's man you're kicking." He hears his sister, Lyanna, shout and run towards the 3 squires. A girl, wait, that's. Lyanna grabs a tourney sword and runs towards the closest squire. She swings her sword, catching him off guard and hitting his face. Smack. Ah, the wimp shouts. The skin opens and blood flows down his face. But Lyanna doesn't care at all and focuses on the next one. By this point, the other 2 have just gotten out of their shock and are trying to grab their own swords. Too slow though. Lyanna moves to the second one and slashes at his feet, knocking him over and making his face hit the ground hard. Bang! The final squire has finally managed to at least unsheath his sword but doesn't stand a chance against Lyanna. He might have done better if he weren't such a sad shit. Lyanna attacked with the ferocity that Leman knew from his sister. The other 2 stood up and were just about to run away from the beating when Leman appeared behind them. 2 of them bumped into his ripped chest and nearly fell to the ground. "Wah, are you done with these, Lyanna? Or do you want me to give it a go?" Leman asks. You can send them off." Leman grabs the 3 squires who are shaking at that point and slaps them with his free hand. Slap, 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 1 slap for each of them. The slaps are so hard, that they fall on the floor and lose consciousness. So Leman lifts them up and just throws them to the back, like trash. "He's injured," Lyanna says as she checks on the young man lying on the ground. There are multiple bruises and cuts from the boots and gloved fists of the squires. Leman arrives and looks as well. "Who is this?" "This is Howland Reed, the young lord of Greywater Watch and the head of House Reed." "Help me carry him." "Sure," Leman says and then lifts Howland up like he weighed nothing and puts him on his shoulder. Lyanna looks at Leman disapprovingly but he just shrugs. He won't carry a man in bridal style, that's just not something he will do.